Um, so these practices have health benefits, and they also have a lot of psychological, mental, and spiritual well-being. And every one of us, who whether we recognize ourselves as a sadhaka or not, we can benefit from pranayama practices. So, in the first, I want to just read something, just to put in a context from one of the texts called Gheranda Samhita, which is related to the yoga practices. And there it is said, Pranayamat Kecharatvam, Pranayamat Roganashanam, Pranayamat Bodhayet Shaktim, Pranayamat Manonmani, Anando Jayate Chitte, Pranayami Sukhi Bhavet. So this is putting in context to us the potential and the power of doing pranayama. So first it says, through pranayama, we get a certain lightness in our body, meaning our that gross tamasic aspect of the body kind of gets reduced by pranayama. And then the second one is pranayama droganashanam. So a lot of our physical ailments, so today there's also a lot of scientific research done on that, on how a lot of pranayama exercises help with managing many of the health conditions. So that is pranayama roganashanam. Then pranayama bodhachet shaktim. So this is a very important thing, that how can pranayama help us in awakening wisdom or awakening our spiritual energy? So there's a lot of subtle practices, such as Kundalini and all in there, where they say that one can get direct illumination by pranayama alone, meaning energy kind of related practices. But more importantly, it can help us in awakening wisdom. How does it awaken wisdom? The next one, where they say pranayama manonmani, meaning pranayama can help us in getting a certain stability of mind, certain quietness in mind. And that helps us in being able to absorb wisdom, and awaken our own inner wisdom also, the inner intuition. So a lot of times, when our mind is too restless, there's a lot of vikshepa in our mind. We can't study, and we can't basically do any activity. We can't focus our mind on anything. And today, a lot of these problems are also seen with youngsters, teenagers and youngsters. There's a lot of this ADD symptoms, because of the way the society, the technology, and all that modern things are there. People have lost the ability to focus their mind on any one thing. So a lot of people are struggling with this attention deficit disorder. So that is one of the things that, and then the other thing is the ability to increase our wisdom or awaken our wisdom. How can pranayama help in that? So one of the things is, we see that in pranayama, the ability of the mind, to focus, and also increase the capacity of our brain. All the many of the major saints and all, like such as Sankaracharya and all that, they're known for that wisdom, their ability to remember things, hold things in memory, and not just memory, but also be able to do very subtle kind of inquiries. This kind of subtle inquiries many times is very difficult for many of us, because we are used to a very transactional kind of thinking, worldly kind of thinking. And this kind of wisdom or thinking is very difficult for many of us. So, this is one of the other benefits, and I will go a little more into each one of them. But so these are the things. So how does it work? I'm sorry. So before then, the important thing he says is Anando Jayate Chitte. So the mind is also happy, meaning there is a certain pleasantness in the mind. Otherwise our mind tends to be a little more anxious, worried, negative. But here the mind is a little more pleasant. Anando Jayate Chitte. Pranayami Sukhi Bhavet, meaning we are happy. Overall, we are much more positive in our life when we are able to regulate our pranas. How? So, firstly, prana, as we know, there are 5 kinds of pranas. This is how the yoga has classified. And of course, they say there are actually 10 pranas, but the main pranas which we are aware of at a gross level, those are the 5 kinds of pranas. And these pranas are involved in regulating many aspects of the body, and also the mind also, but mostly they are called as the prana vayu. What are these prana vayus? They are called as prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana. So these are the more commonly known. So there is, if these are not balanced, then what happens is we are both physically and mentally we are shaken up. See, sometimes what happens is, like, you see this, like when your prana is not functioning properly, you can't even go to sleep. That is that is a sign that there is something wrong in the body, or there's something wrong in the prana. When we are too restless, we are not able to get sleep properly. That is also, but also these are the gross level of prana, meaning the 5 pranavayus which I talked about. These are related more with the body and also with the mind, but it affects the body. So this is why even a lot of people who are not into spiritual practices also try to undertake pranayama. Why? Because in helping us to manage the body, in regulating the body, we need to be able to do proper pranayama. And that is, even though if we have certain physical ailments or disease and other conditions, there's some amount of management we can do with the basic kind of pranayamas. And these pranayamas, if we can, especially as a spiritual practitioner, it's important for us. Why? Because even to do meditation or even to do any kind of listening to teachings, contemplation and all that, our mind has to be stable. So if you take more the deeper definition of all these pranas, they are affecting the energy in the body, different energy in the body. So some energy in the body we can't help. The body has its own process of decay and all that. So it's not possible for us to control everything. But at the same time, by doing pranayama, we can regulate the effect it has on the mind, how it affects the mind. And this is the main part why the yogis included pranayama as one of the ashtanga. It is the 4th anga. This is after one has done yama, niyama, and asanas. All the yogasana. Patanjali said pranayama is the very important step. Pranayama is that connection between ability for one who can control the body and to be able to regulate the mind before one goes into what is called pratyahara. So pranayama is that where is that bridge. So pranayama is that aspect where the body gets affected by prana, and most importantly, the mind is also affected by prana. And so this is where we say, what happens with the mind is, as the mind is disturbed, then the energy in the body gets even further disturbed. When the energy in the body is disturbed, obviously it affects the mind. So this becomes like a loop. We get stuck in this loop unless we know how to work with the prana, or you know very well how to work with the mind. So either one, we have to, ideally we have to do both. How to work with the mind as in meditation, how we can regulate the mind using meditation, because that will help to also regulate the energy. At the same time, we should know how to work with the energy, then it will regulate the mind also. So the power of prana is seen so much that actually for people who practice brahmacharya also, it is said that once you know how to work with the certain prana, that is when you establish in brahmacharya. And also for grihasthas, I think in today, like the society is going through a lot of degradation. So even grihasthas should know how to work with the energy, which manifests otherwise into all this sensual activities, sensual pleasures, that we continuously keep seeking. In order for grihasthas also to maintain certain moderation and loyalty, they should know how to work with this energy. Okay, so now I'll go a little deeper how the pranayama works. Firstly, I just want to mention, so I'm not going to go a lot into specific pranayamas here. I have some other videos, which if people are interested, they can ask me. So, but basic pranayama for outer maintenance of the body, this is most commonly some of the practices that is given out in most of our texts, such as Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Geranda Samhita, and all those things, Yoga Shastras, are those which relate to things such as Nadi Shodhana, Anulom Vilom. We should try to do that on a regular basis. And then there is a Ujjayi Pranayama, which is, certain way of breathing, where you are actually contracting the throat. You're doing the hissing sound, of the throat. That enables certain part of the body to function. And then there is the things which helps in our digestion and stomach regulation, such as Kapalabhati. This Kapalabhati is one thing which keeps a lot of our digestion in check. And then most importantly, it's Bhastrika. Bhastrika is a very important pranayamic practice where you are doing like deep breathing through the nose, a little bit of a bellow kind of breathing. Even if we don't do anything on a regular basis, we should try to do the Anulom Vilom or the Nadi Shodhan practice. That is a very useful practice where we breathe in through one nostril and we exhale through the other nostril. So here there are different ways people say, like in some texts, it says you should do the Puraka, which is called Puraka, Kumbhaka, Rechaka, inhalation, holding, exhalation. There's different ratios given. Sometimes in the text, they give a lot of, like you have to hold the breath for 4 times that what you inhale, So those things are, of course, for very advanced practitioners. But basic thing is we should try to do 2 inhalation, like count ratio of 2, 1, and 3 to start with. The inhalation of count of 2, holding the breath for at least 1, and exhalation should be longer than inhalation. So that's a basic thing everyone can try to practice. And slowly over time, you can increase that. You inhale, hold the breath, and you increase the time you can hold, and then you can more focus on slow, more long exhalation. So here there are also variations. If you, in what is called as a Nadi Shodhan, initial Nadi Shodhan is where you inhale, and then you try to use the exhale, and if you're not able to, then you force the exhale a little bit, like, you just use a little bit force, and that helps to focus more on having the exhalation done a little longer and deeper. And then the other thing is also when you inhale, you should not hold too much, and the holding should not be in the chest area, what is called as kumbhaka. When we say kumbhaka, it is not that you're holding the breath in the chest area. Kumbhaka is a pot. The word kumbhaka is pot. So that pot happens more at the belly region. So this takes a little bit of practice, and where you're trying to regulate the breath and hold it, and the more in the abdominal region. So that is one important aspect. And then also with some of the nadi shodhan, and ideally, we should sit for some time after pranayama. We shouldn't just kind of walk away. You should do some meditation or something. And ideally for this is the Brahmari practice. What is called as a Brahmari practice. So actually in the texts, the Brahmari practice is many times now people do with that sound, this has become more the commonly known Brahmari thing, which is also okay. But ideally what Brahmari should lead us to is where we are holding that thing, and we are focusing slowly on a meditative mode on whatever sounds we can hear. As our practice deepens, we are able to hear very different sounds, subtle sounds, each sound corresponding to each chakra, ultimately culminating in the sound of Om. So that is where it is leading to. But we can start with that because many of us are not able to hear the sound. So we can do the humming sound to start with. But we should try to sit for a while in that. So that is when the pranayama takes us more to the deeper aspects of pratyahara. See, we may think that sometimes people think, I just want physical benefits from pranayama. I don't need. But in order to really benefit from pranayama, you have to take the pranayama till it becomes into pratyahara, a meditative point. Then only it will start helping also physically. Otherwise, it is just like some breathing exercise, Pranayama is more than breathing exercise. It is not just a breathing exercise. So there is a way you can progress also in pranayama where we can ourselves bring in some visualizations. Like where, like for example, like you are doing deep inhalation, exhalation. As you inhale, you can feel that some light or some positive energy and all that is coming into you. And then as you expel out, you can feel that all the negativity, the pain in the body, the disease of the body, and the tamasic energy in the body, all that is going out like as a black smoke kind of thing, going out of you. So even when you do the nadi shodhan or anulom vilom, one nose you breathe in, all the positive, good energy, all the negative energy you expel through the other nose. And then also the future problems and future negativity that you're bound to face, you can kind of feel that you're casting that out. So all that is ways you can energize your mind, your body, and your overall energy system in the body. So pranayama is mainly that's what it is leading us to. It is, see, all pranas come from pranava. What we say is pranava. Pranava is that what is the word Om. And there in Yoga Sutras, it is said, Tasya Vachakaha Pranava. What is he saying is that the name of God or Ishvara or the highest force, is Pranava, Om. So Om is that divine thing from which all this prana energy has come, and because of which all this is activated, the world, everything, Prakriti we see. And Om is that has two aspects. So one is that Om through prana creates all this world, and Om through prana, in inward flowing prana, takes us back into our true nature, into our soul.